Hello, good evening and welcome to the PinkUn Show. Live here, we are back at the Woolpack on Golden Ball Street in the fine city for our latest dedicated edition of Norwich City Shenanigans that now knows the real meaning of Dry January. That's a good pun, that. It's a good pun, that. I am Michael Bailey and we're over there. And over the next 30 minutes or so, we will bring you all the key Canaries discussions from Saturday's defeat to those lovely Blades, look ahead to Saturday's Brentford trip, and of course, bring you right up to speed with the latest January transfer window speculation. We will see if we get accosted by any regulars down here at the Woolpack during the show. Plus, we've got a delightful duo ready for all your questions. City's regular fourth official in waiting and EDP columnist David Spud Thornhill and fellow season ticket holder Chris Elliott. Gentlemen, how are we doing? You well?
Very good, thanks. Yeah, good.
Are you happy with being back in the pub on the show, Chris?
Always a way forward, isn't it? Hey, got to be in the pub for this, haven't we?
And you are, of course, only here for the game later on, yeah?
Maybe, yeah. I'm certainly not here for the orange juice.
Well, there we go. That's probably the best way of doing it. Spud, how are you?
I'm very well, thank you very much.
You've done well because you're a new dad, which is lovely, and you've still got to 6 away games this year.
Yeah, I haven't done too bad. So we'd like to have 100%, but things have been holding me back, like little Amelia. But yeah, no, enjoying my fatherhood and my new responsibilities.
Good man, that's brilliant to hear. Right, well, we are live on PinkUn.com and the PinkUn Facebook page primarily, and we want to hear from you, of course, too, and we're already getting messages through. So, be it on January's rumoured ins, January's rumoured outs, or some actual football. Get your questions, comments and banter through to us here in the pub. All you need to do is post your comments or your words through on the Facebook feed, and they will ping right through to this phone as is going on. Now, let's crack on with Wesley Moulahan's key role this evening. She is down there, which is, of course, to ring in the latest Norwich City headlines. You're going to have to make do with my face all the way through these, by the way. On Nell to the Norwich boys. Cuban winger Hernandez on the brink of joining City. Dennis the Menace. Paderborn striker Dennis Serbany is the little gamble as tall German striker closes in on permanent City switch. Better late than never. It's good quality. Former Lazio, Stuttgart, Borussia Dortmund midfielder Maurizio Leitner is set to arrive on loan this week. There's been some football. Sadly, Chris Wilder won, so we may as well try to forget all that and look forward instead. And finally, oh my God, they loaned Kenny. McLean straight in and then back out to Aberdeen until the summer. Your season ticket prices have been frozen too, apparently. It's been a quiet week. Oh, hang on. And there we go. That's that done. Spud.
Yes, just a normal week for Norwich City. So we like it all active and exciting. So why be different to any other week?
This is it. We've got to get stuck in, and we really do have to start with the speculation that's been around today. 3 signings very close to being on their way, as far as I know. I expect them probably all to be done before Saturday's game. So these are not your standard rumour mills. These are 3 players who may very well be Norwich City players by tomorrow, by Friday, and certainly by Saturday, Chris.
Well, it looks like we're going to get the striker that I think nearly all of us are desperate to see. The fact that we went into last weekend with 1 senior striker in the squad available was, well, we could rake over the whys and wherefores, but a crazy situation to be in. Great we're getting one in now. I still think we need another one. We're 1 injury away from being back to kind of 1 novice striker in the club. So good to see the activity bubbling up today, though, on many fronts.
Yeah, quite a bit of it, Spud. It's hard. Do you get excited? Because let's be honest, none of us have probably seen any of these players play. We don't know what we're going to get. We're all judging it on hearsay. Do you still get excited by the fact that they're new names, new faces?
Oh yeah, you always look forward to seeing new players, because you always think that they could be the potential new star player which will hold a place in your heart. I'm not a great fan of transfer window. I'm old-fashioned. I prefer the old way where you could get transfers throughout the season. I'm not looking forward to Wednesday because it just crazy the hell out of me with all this rumours going on. So I'd rather us get all our business done, and I don't really want a situation like a few years ago when Dave McNally can say, "You can go to bed now, lads."
Well, that's the thing. I guess we probably don't want it all done and dusted until late on, because it's good to have the excitement around the place, but I would probably say that. Loads of messages coming through. Tony Bispham, I hope I've pronounced that right, Tony. On the Ball City, Anel Hernandez, Moritz, Leitner, 2. I'm a happy guy. What else have we got here? Keith Shrekshaw, he says, good evening lads, that'll do for me. Keith, thanks for that. Stephen Taylor, Ik ben een Norwich City supporter. Now I don't know if that's a faux pas, I don't know, sorry, or folks pass in Mickey Quinn's terminology. It's a little talk sport joke for you there. And Keith Shrekshaw, do we know the current situation with Hernandez, Surbani and Leitner? Basically they're in the process of hopefully being sorted, so we will see them all come in over the next 24, 48 hours. We will see. We might as well break them all down individually, I suppose. Anel Hernandez is the one that's been around probably longest, but most of the window, before Christmas almost, I think. A winger, Cuban, playing in the second tier of German football, but does seem to have a bit about him, and the one that Norwich have probably paid some proper money for.
That's the interesting thing for me, is as soon as Alex Pritchard had gone, we knew that had to be the catalyst to get people in. The question in my mind was always then, how much of that money are we actually going to see? We know lots of it's going to get squirreled away, and it's going to have to kind of cope with just a smaller budget next season. But I think that's in the sort of $1.5 million type bracket, so good to see a significant chunk of money going outwards, albeit, again, a totally unknown name.
That's interesting, because I mean the reported fee is around £1.7 million. I don't know how close that is to the truth, but people will go, well, hang on, you've just got in £11-12 million for Alex Pritchard. You're only spending a million of it on that signing, and then bits here and there. But we know what the summer is as well, so it's a really hard balancing act, surely.
Oh, it certainly is. Norwich have a history of selling players big and then getting them players in and cheaper afterwards. It's nothing new. We have to be realistic. We know what we're looking forward to next season on the money side, so we have to be careful what we spend. So I'm not surprised. And like I tweeted early on, sometimes isn't it best we buy cheaper? Because for every Ricky Van Wolfwinkel, there's a Grant Holt.
You could list off the majority of Norwich's favourite, best players. They probably cost a fraction of some of the ones that we've had in the last couple of years.
And when we have bought big, our record is really poor in terms of those players having a big impact. So we don't need to look outside of Carrow Road to have a really clear set of examples that big money doesn't equal big players.
Simon Meadows, good evening Simon. He says, who could have scripted this incoming transfer window, lads? Sabani and Hernandez interest me. What's your take on the business so far? So in terms, because we can stretch this back, and we'll go through some of the other guys, but we've had obviously Kenny McLean coming in, and he's been loaned back. He's won very much for next season, effectively. And then we had, since we last did a show, we've had Russell Martin, Cameron Jerome, Stephen Naismith, Alex Pritchard and Yannick Wiltshire all go out.
Well, as you know, I do bit for the paper. I've done my piece for Saturday already. I think I might just rip it up because this is all before the news from today. So, but I suppose that's the excitement of the transfers. The club had to do it. I didn't understand at the time with Jerome, with not having someone in replace straight away, because what would happen if Oliveira got injured or done something silly, like silly sending off and all that, we would be in trouble. So let's get the striker in, and like Chris has just said, let's try and get another striker in. It's been busy, and like I said early on, let's just try and get it all done sorted quickly.
It was a curious one how short they were, and you've already touched on it, Chris, and not even seeing Tristan Abrahams or players like that who maybe you think might possibly get a go, might be close, and Daniel Farker said he's close, but not giving him a go, although we have of course seen the emergence of Todd Cantwell.
Yeah, that's good to see. I mean, we're clearing the decks now. This is all the players that have had Premier League football with Norwich. There's probably not going to be any of them left come next August. That's the common thread amongst the ones that have already gone out. I think we can expect the same to happen to Alex Tetty, probably Tim Closer, Wes Houlihan. I just really think we will go, those decks will have been cleared, because we can't afford guys that are on Premier League wages after this summer. And this whole window is all shaping that kind of it is a new generation of player.
Yeah, that's a very, very interesting point in terms of the legacy of the wage bill, of course, which is going to be the key thing when the parachute payments stop come next season. What else have we got here? Lorne Haggis, Smybert. When will they all be loaned out? There's a little joke there, of course, for Kenny McLean. and Adam Carpenter, if we don't have a miracle end to the season and make playoffs or get promotion, do you think the lure of Premier League football will tempt Maddison away from us if we receive a big money offer? I guess this is moving on. Are we kind of feeling relatively comfortable that no more players will go out this window? I know summer is one thing, but that January maybe we won't see the likes of James Maddison or whoever go out?
I think people might laugh at me when I say this, but while we've still got a chance for playoffs, I know... If I'm being honest, do I think we'll get the playoffs? No, I don't. But while there's still a chance, we've still got to keep going. And last thing we'll do is getting rid of Maddison. That will kill it off. So I don't think he'll go this window. Well, I'm sure he won't go transfer window. And I don't think that will do sales of season tickets very well either. So I'm confident he won't go this window. Next window, I'm not too sure.
He's worth more money in the summer, isn't he, Chris? And now they have sold Alex Pritchard. That does sort of relieve the pressure a little bit.
Yeah, I think for lots of reasons, not obviously on the pitch, but I think in terms of what it would do amongst the morale of all of us if we saw James Maddison disappear now. I think in terms of the flack flying around in the direction of the board, Daniel Farke, Stuart Webber and everyone else, I think it would be a massive own goal if he was to go now. I think it's going to be very hard to keep him in the summer. I think we will get several bids of really chunky bids, and it comes down to him ultimately. He might decide, I want to stay and play a full season of Championship football, but if he did decide that, he'd be a very rare young player that's made that decision.
Indeed, and I think we know that James Maddison, knows what he's got himself, so it'd be an interesting test for him, most definitely. Lewis Plummer, Onel Hernandez's record doesn't look great, however everybody seems to be excited about his signing. It's a new signing, Lewis. It's sort of the way it works really, until I was still excited about David Strihawka, but we won't talk about that. And Michael Bailey's beard, is there any vodka in your orange, MB? How dare you, I am working. Keith Shrek Shaw, remember Holty from Shrewsbury, £400,000 equaled 29 goals that season, so that's not too bad, is it? Was it 30? 30?
I did want to say 30, yeah.
Oh, you say it away.
The year before.
Yeah, that's not bad, is it? And we should point out.
Next to me.
We should point out Chris is a Shrewsbury fan too, so worth hanging on in there. And Lorne Haggis Smybert says, could this striker be the next Grant Hull? Let's hope so. Let's put the pressure on, why not? Let's touch on Dennis Serbani, or Dennis as I'm going to call him now. I mean, we're talking about a 23-year-old striker, 6'2", tall. It seems to have chopped in with a lot of assists as well as goals in the German third tier. Huge step up, although I remember Paul Lambert always saying the goal is the same size. Although, as my colleague then said, yeah, but the player in between does tend to change. So.
Well, I'm hoping that this new signing is, okay, forget whatever his CV is, it needs to be someone that Daniel Farke will play, because basically he didn't play Cameron Jerome. Nelson Oliveira could do what he wanted, he could play well, he could play badly. There was no time ever when Daniel Farke would actually decide to play Cameron Jerome and give him a run of games. He had no faith in him, so we need someone to put pressure on Nelson Oliveira. He needs a rest, and he probably needs a little nudge in the ribs, because I think his attitude is one that perhaps would benefit from that now and again.
Yeah. Well, you said to me 2 hours ago if I've heard of Dennis.
Dennis, yeah.
Our friend Dennis.
Yes. I would never heard of him until I saw your tweet earlier and your video. And I thought your video was very interesting, that he plays some of the ugly stuff and all that. And I think that's what we desperately need in the Championship.
Yes, myself and Dave Freezer have been busy slaving away on PinkUn.com, so you can see that video that Spud's referring to over there. Absolutely. Craig Brown, bring in a British striker. Surely there is a decent striker in one of the non-leagues. I mean, we're asking them for a non-league striker as opposed to a German third-tier striker. So,
but then people will moaning and playing that they were buying a non-league player. The club can't win. We have to be realistic and just
it's value. It's all driven by value. The bottom line is the money. We can shop in the German third tier. If you went to a guy who'd scored 10, 12, 15 goals in League One now, you'd get quoted 5 million.
Well, yeah.
I'm sure you would.
Yeah, look, the Peterborough one, striker, I can't think of his name off the top of my head, but I know Barry Ferry's behind it, but he was already playing as best player he's ever dealt with. Well, you can know they can be 5 million easy.
Yeah.
We'd also point out Tristan Abrahams is effectively a lower league striker that they signed last season. Got a load of League Two appearances under his belt, and he's close. So maybe he'll get some games out somewhere and we'll get to see him. You never know. Ian Dack, I'm so glad we're changing the squad. Been needed for the last 2 seasons, and in fairness, a lot of fans have asked for it as well. Adi Sedgwick, we have to give all these new players a chance as long as they want to be to play for the club. Give 100% for the shirt. That's good enough for me. So there we go. The one we haven't touched on is actually kind of the interesting one. Maurice Leitner has a wonderful track record and pedigree. The guy's been to Lazio, Stuttgart, Borussia Dortmund. He's played a real handful of games in the Bundesliga. Still only 25, midfielder. To me, he seems a bit more of an attacking midfielder. Someone's going to play top. But he's obviously had a couple of injuries and kind of lost his way. And although I think he's a different player to Tom Treble, I can see it kind of being a similar path, albeit this one's a loan from Augsburg and not a permanent switch.
That's what I was going to say. I can see a similarity between him and Tommy Treble as well. Treble's history of the clubs he played for and all that. They got him on a short-term contract. And is he going to be a loan signing?
He is a loan signing.
So we can see how he adapts, and not without taking the risk of a long-term signing.
And I've had a few questions about whether there'll be an option to sign him permanently. As far as I know, there won't be. I don't think. I might be wrong, but that's the understanding I have.
I guess the only thing with this is it does, it's a well-stocked area of our team already, and I know right now we've got 1 or 2 injuries, but there's glaring gaps elsewhere.
Say one, Chris.
Well, I've already said striker, so right back, I know we've just signed a youngster there, but Ivo Pinto, I think, has played more minutes than any other player this season. Sooner or later, the chances are he's going to crock an injury, and you don't want to be just having everyone in your squad sort of a youngster inexperienced. You'd like to see 1 or 2 old heads maybe there as well.
The right back area is the one in the back of my mind going, okay, what about that? We'll see. I'm not entirely sure they'll do anything, but we'll see. Worth maybe me pointing out as well that there might be a little bit in the papers tomorrow about a bid going the other way. That's all I'm going to say. It'll be in the papers tomorrow. Have a look at that. And we did touch on all the outgoings. You kind of answered this, Chris. I'll come to you, Spud. If these 3 were the last bit of business and that was it, would you be happy going with that for the rest of the season?
No, I just want one more striker.
Striker?
Well, yeah, you've got to be realistic, haven't you? Because if one of them gets injured out of those 2, you're then down to 1 striker. Because you can't really put Marley Watkins as the out-and-out striker. So then that will only leave 1 striker. So that's putting a little bit of pressure on.
Great stuff. Okay, well, let's go through some of these. Scott Foley, settle the new players in from now till the end of the season, hit the ground running next season, ? That will definitely be the plan, I'm sure, Scott. What else have we got here? Craig Brown, Farker is lucky to still be manager, needs to learn from his mistakes. Obviously not particularly happy, Craig, there about the FA Cup and what happened then on Saturday with Sheffield United, and we should touch on that now. At this point, we'd usually hear from Daniel Farker and Chris Wilder, but we haven't got those clips. They are all on the PinkUn YouTube channel and PinkUn.com, so check them all out, and you can have a watch of them after the show. But of course, quite annoying, wasn't it, losing Sheffield United on Saturday? Is that just me, or is that you two?
I just had that feeling beforehand. Let's say Sheffield United manager Chris Wilder, he was so wound up from the first game. He done all his pre-match talk, showed all the paperwork, so the performed the game, and it smelt of defeat even before you got to the ground and all that. And you can blame it on a bit of Chelsea game, but I think you just got to give credit to Sheffield United. I thought they played very well. Their game plan was superb. They got the early goal, and they done our trick early on. And like the Sheffield United fans saying, take your time.
Take your time, Sheffield United. That's been the big discussion really afterwards, hasn't it, Chris? How much of it was about Chelsea? I mean, one of the worst performers, sadly, on the pitch on the day was Alex Tettey, and he played the last 4 minutes, basically, of that Chelsea game. I
mean, I've said it a lot that I really want us to play strong teams in the Cup and have a Cup run, and so you can't have it both ways. We might have lost to Sheffield United anyway, even if we'd rested 5 at Chelsea. We'll never know that. But I'm really pleased that one thing Daniel Farker's done this season, he did it in both cup competitions, is we went with strong teams to play games away, Arsenal and Chelsea, games where you could say, well, it's easy to actually rest a few, we're going to lose anyway, and we didn't go with that attitude. So I'm pleased with that. I want to see us take Cup seriously. We might be muddling along in the league for a long, long time, and that might be what we need.
Isn't it better saying that we lost to Chelsea and Arsenal instead of we've lost to Bury and Cheltenham and Luton like we did over the years?
And we've taken them to extra time and not been beaten 5 or 6-0.
Exactly.
You could argue they should have won both, to be honest, but there we go. Are we actually being a little bit precious about all the Chris, or maybe me personally, but over the Chris Wilder stuff? He was giving it the big un at the end of the game on the pitch, and some Norwich fans took a bit of exception to that. And he has kind of been a figure of fun, really, for Norwich fans.
Hey, when we lost, I know I'm going back quite a few years ago with the Paul Lambert and the Colchester United thing, we absolutely loved what Paul Lambert done that day, and that to me was very similar to what Chrissy Wilder. If that was roles reverse, we would lap it up, and you have to just take it on the chin. You have to.
Absolutely, part of it. We all want it. We don't want it to be bland and vanilla, do we? Yeah.
Yeah. Let's not be bitter.
Let's not be bitter. Well, I don't know. Sometimes the bitterness is just as much fun as them enjoying not being bitter. Jez Arlo, why has Norwich not signed a right back yet? And then there's an emoji with steam coming out of his nose. Or the emoji is anyway. David Field, let's hope none of these are injured and ready to play. And what else have we got here? Adam Russell, the lack of enthusiasm to get new players in shows this club may have given up on promotion this season. Thoughts? Well, I don't know. They're about to sign 3 players. So, but then is the quality? I mean, you clearly still hope that there's something left in this season for Norwich, Chris. I mean, these kind of signings, is it going to do the trick?
Well, we don't know. I'm not giving up on it now. I think it's stupid to give up on it. I'm sure nobody at the football club is saying, let's forget it this season, lads. Let's get on the beach early, as it were. Realistically, I don't think it's going to happen. And these kind of signings are less likely. People coming not from outside of British football, that's a huge step to try and make a big impact in 4 or 5 months. So I don't think playoffs is likely. What I want to see is these guys proving that they can be here next year and the year after, improving and getting us into playoff challenging positions next season.
I did want to ask about the second goal against Sheffield United. Alex Tetty's pulled back pass, Angus Gunn opting not to come out. I mean, I think the blame has to be with Alex Tetty, because if he puts it out in the stand, then nothing happens. But I can't help thinking Angus possibly should have come, and I'm not an expert.
I thought someone to blame was Alex Tetty, but we could argue all day about whose fault it is. Just got to move on, really.
I think if it's an Angus Gunn mistake, it's log it down as perhaps the first one this season.
Yeah, spot on.
Which is interesting, actually, because Neil Marison, no one has mentioned Angus Gunn, will be a huge loss next season. Should we be looking at goalkeepers now? I mean, I honestly can't think of a scenario where Angus Gunn becomes a Norwich player next year unless Norwich go up. I think a loan to a Premier League club might appeal to Manchester City, but anything else, I can't see that.
Maybe we'll keep him. I agree. If it's Premier League or Championship, then he's going to go to the Premier League. His heart is here, and I know that isn't everything, but it's one powerful thing we've got that every other club hasn't. No other club is Angus's boyhood team.
Yeah, unfortunately, he's playing for the club. His heart is here, but if he's going to be thinking about his future will be in the Premier League next season, if it's Man City or a lower team in the Premier League.
Sadly, because what a goalkeeper that young man is going to be. Lorne Haggis Smybert, which I'm obviously convinced is your real name, Lorne, is the lad from Spurs Fit Now. That is Marcus Edwards, 19-year-old attacking midfielder, obviously, from Spurs. He has hopefully had a full week of training this week, so I would imagine there's a good chance he may well feature in the squad on Saturday, depending on, I guess, how he's done, which is always the way, isn't it? So, we've done all that. I think that's enough, isn't it? We'll move it on. We'll have a little bit of light relief because it is now time for the real fun that everyone has been waiting for. Dan, take it away. Yes, it's Flip the Bird. Now, last week saw some ridiculous scoring and new tactics from Tom Parsley and Steve Cook. They'd clearly been practicing, hitting new heights in the new time slot of 30 seconds. Steve leads the way with a remarkable 12, and now it's the turn of these two. And Chris, you've actually already done this because you played in the inaugural game where he sadly got a forfeit or didn't make it through to the end, and Adam Aitken celebrated by downing his pint.
He did, yeah, and I think he got the better end of the deal as well there.
He cheated as well. If we looked at the footage back, you can see it on the YouTube channel. I'm pretty sure Adam
replaced as well, wasn't it?
Yeah, that's right. Yeah. The barman straight out with another pint. So well done for that. You're not going to get that probably tonight, to be honest. But that's more us than the pub, by the way. You have 30 seconds. Here we go.
What is the lowest score? I know someone's forfeit. It's about.
Yeah, you got 0, didn't you, Chris?
Yes, technically I did get 0. So don't worry, you can't beat.
Oh, that's all right then.
The lowest is 2.
Lowest is 2.
But I guess that would have been 4 in a minute because we've actually fiddled with the rules. But well, you know, rules are there to be broken, clearly. So there we go. There's your piles. We'll move those out of the way.
Now.
You've only got 30 seconds to flip as many beer mats as you can in one hand, accumulating your pile as you go along. The winner gets a much prized selfie with Wesley Moulahan and will forever be deemed more Robert Flick than Flicky Van Wolfswinkel. Are you ready, gents? Look at Spud, he's very ready. Let's play Flip the Bird on Dan's signal. 3, go! He said go, we're not even counting down, and away we go. Oh, this is erratic stuff from... Are you sure you practiced, Spud? I'm a little bit worried about Spud's technique. Chris, he looks like a man who wants to prove a point after letting himself down last time out. Not that I'm going to put the pressure on, but we love having Chris on the show. Spud on 4, and Chris ticking along nicely. There's some good. They're both finding their rhythm now to a degree. 5 seconds, says Dan. We're coming to the end. See if you can get one more in, gents. One more in. Chris has got one more in, and steady with that left hand. Step that with that left hand. But let's count your totals then, Chris.
4, 5, 6, 7.
7, lovely score.
Unfortunately, I have to say it's 4.
It's 4. That's not too bad though, Spud. Not too bad. So 4 and a 7. Chris, you win. Congratulations. Is that redemption for you?
It is. This is the moment I've been dreaming of ever since the debacle at the Coach and Horses.
Let's be clear. Some people have been coming up to you saying,
Yes, there's the league table. I think you've actually put the league table up, so I think you are complicit in my humiliation. And every week I'm there in the relegation zone. So hopefully I've moved up to the...
The question is now, do we put a new entry in and remove the old one, or leave them both on there? What do you want?
No, I think this one's fine, yeah. Surely we start here for 2018.
Yeah, okay. Well, we might do that. Will you get a selfie with Wesley Moulahan? Do you want to do that now?
Right now?
Yeah, go on, do it now. There we go. It makes good television, or YouTube, or whatever it is we're on. There we go. Sean will be on gimbal cam, and we'll do something with the selfie at some point, obviously. Delightful. Right, play the sting again. No sting. Dan's doing this and going no sting, so I guess that means no sting. Well, you can imagine the sting because you've already seen it a moment ago. Let's move on then, shall we? Because the Championship is back. Let's have a look at what this weekend has in store, shall we, Dan, with the results. Are we on? Results, brilliant. There was a shock defeat for Wolves. There was a shock defeat too. While Leeds were so stunned by their epic home defeat to Millwall, they seem to have lost all sense of reality and changed their crest to one from Pro Evolution Soccer. If you haven't seen this, look at it. It's ridiculous. Brentford continued their good form at Reading, while Yannick Vilschut couldn't inspire Cardiff to victory. Fulham made easy work of Burton. Top of the table, Wolves still look untouchable at the summit, with Derby the pole position behind. Villa, Fulham and Borough are starting to come into contention as Leeds, Preston and Ipswich lose ground. At the bottom, City still top the bottom half, but having missed their big opportunity to close to within 6 points of the top 6, they now look well out of the promotion picture. Sunderland are still pushing for survival, while Hull and Reading are yet to pull clear. As for this weekend, the Championship is broken up by FA Cup 4th round action. Only 4 games take place on Saturday, with Wolves heading to Portman Road. There are 2 big games at the bottom on Tuesday night. Bolton and Cardiff are the 2 sides set to be left with a game in hand next Wednesday. Gentlemen, have you seen this Leeds United crest?
Yeah, I love it. I love it because that's just like for Leeds United, and just a bit of banter. It's absolutely shocking badge. Shocking.
I saw it and I had to check. I had to find an official tweet because I thought the one that I was seeing was already a spoof. I realised they'd announced the new one, and what is the real one? I thought, no, that's obviously not it. Yeah, that's somebody taking the mickey here. Yeah.
I mean, the tweet that it's announced on actually almost defends it before anyone's seen it, doesn't it? It's like we've spoken to 10,000 people. Hopefully, it'll still. I mean, that's not going to be around 100 days. Never mind 100 years.
Yeah, I was going to say they must have been 10,000 other locals like Bradford City or Huddersfield fans.
Yes, quite. If you haven't seen the crest, go and look for it after the show. It is a work of art. There you go. There's Spud's impression. Do an impression, Spud. Do an impression. Who wouldn't want that on their shirt? Thoughts on the rest of the division, gents? So we've got it all here for you if you want to have a look. I mean, is there anything that catches your eye at the moment? I mean, sadly, Norwich aren't particularly in the promotion picture, but I mean, Ipswich aren't faring much better, it has to be said. And it was kind of a missed opportunity on Saturday, wasn't it?
Yeah, the old saying of 6 point a game, because we had won, we would have been 3 points behind Sheffield United. We lost, and we're now 9 points behind them. So, yeah, it's looking tough, but Well, let's hope. I'll still believe.
Chris?
Yeah, I think we're destined to be where I thought we would at the beginning of the season. We're good enough to play well and beat most teams, and we're also can have a real poor day and lose to anyone else. I don't see us going either way, to be honest. I don't think we're going to get into the 6th or 7th. I mean, that's what it boils down to, I think, to be honest. There's two things: do we beat Ipswich at home, and do we finish above them in the league? And outside of that, most of the thoughts are about what are we building for next season.
And I mean, you look at the top half of the table, there's a lot of money and a lot of pretty decent sides in there now. When you look at it and you see the pecking order, you see what actually most of those sides are better than Norwich at the moment.
Yeah, because if you look at the teams we have played, like Sheffield United, Wolves, Derby, they've all come here and got 3 points, and they did deserve their wins.
Brilliant stuff. Quick touch on Shrewsbury, Chris. You are a Shrewsbury fan. I mean, they've done phenomenally well with Carlton Morrison, especially Ben Godfrey, and could be in the same division as Norwich next year.
Yes, they could. It's an amazing story. It's sort of almost like the Leicester of League One, if you like. Way beyond expectations. I think staying up in League One was where the ambition started at the beginning of the season. Big turnover in the squad, and of course it's fantastic having that connection here. Ebu Adams was there up until January, and he's switched and gone to Orient on loan instead now. But Ben Godfrey's getting all the plaudits back in Shrewsbury. Scouts from Premier League teams are apparently there at watching a lot of the games. Carlton still getting a lot of recognition for doing the tough job. So I think he broke a non-scoring sequence of 15 games last weekend, but despite that he's doing the classic number 9 type job really, and goals are coming from around him.
Brilliant stuff. The other thing I want to touch on is season ticket prices, because the season ticket renewal prices and what have you were all announced on the morning of the game on Saturday. Prices frozen effectively, and no mention of an academy donation, which we'll maybe get stuck into in a moment. But in terms of season ticket prices, I mean, it struck me that there isn't really an option for them to reduce prices because of the financial pressures at the club, I guess, given how much they cost. Is that fair? Do we have to accept that?
I think a gesture of a 2% reduction on season ticket prices would have been a really positive message. I don't think that 2% in terms of what's in the coffers would make too much difference, to be honest. It's all very well saying 5 years frozen prices, but 4 of those years we were watching Premier League football.
Unfortunately, I think the club would like to increase the fees, but they really can't. When you get the information about that we've got the most expensive season tickets in the Championship, the club really couldn't really put it up any higher. The idea you say about 2% decrease for season ticket, most of them are 500 quid, what's a tenner? So
it would be more of a gesture, I agree, but I just think it maybe would have been a nice gesture to see.
Yeah, no, I agree with you.
Continue keeping what are high prices.
Yeah. And it will be very interesting what the renewals rates are like, to be honest, and see how many people do renewal. We've had a little bit. The club put something out soon after the season ticket, a couple of days after, I think earlier this week, about there's no academy donation in the current set of renewals, which is 19 quid. I think it was optional, but they have to put in some developments at Colney. We know about that. On top of the new dressing rooms, they need that to keep the Category 1 status, which is something the club really wants. And they're going to come up with an innovative way of doing this. Have you gents got any ideas what you think it might be?
I'd like to think of something witty, but I can't. But no.
I think it's a much bigger hat that's going to get passed around. I think that's what's coming.
Yeah.
I think lots of £19 isn't enough.
No.
So I think that's the direction we're going. Is that there's going to be a much bigger campaign to get a lot more money.
What about like in the 50s when he used to bit the bed sheets and ask them for money?
Loose change, yeah.
It'll be really interesting. What's the modern way of doing a bucket collection? Crowdfunding. I wonder if it's going to be some sort of crowdfunding thing. We will see. That's exciting, but that's about the future in the academy, of course. Let's look a little less into the future and look ahead to Saturday and the Canaries' trip to Brentford. They are in form, Brentford, as well. They've won 5 of their last 6 in the league, a run that started, of course, at Carrow Road. And they're something of a role model as well, aren't they? Because of the way they've scouted and recruited players for a minimum value. They've been really astute in who they brought in, and then they've managed to get good value out of them and also done well in the league, relatively.
Yeah, I think that all started when they won promotion in 2014, and they had Warburton and the style of football, and I think they've just improved. I was really impressed when they came down here. After the game, when you saw all the comments about little old Brentford, they're not little old Brentford. They were a superb side, and I thought their midfield overrun our midfield.
Yeah, I mean, they've got a lot to fight for. You know, they're 3 points off the playoffs, so they're going to be absolutely hungry. Good form. That's a really tough game for us.
Yeah. And conversely, Norwich have done quite well at Griffin Park, and there's a bit of me that thinks, Norwich away from home against a side doing quite well. Norwich kind of prosper in those fixtures. They can tend to get themselves ahead and see it out.
Exactly that. We do seem to be set up to produce the battling away performance and the 1-0 win. You know, we've seen that many times this season. We've not, we must be getting close to parity between away wins and home wins. I don't know.
I was actually thinking that. So I'm sure we've only won 4. Have we won 4 home games and 5 away?
Yeah. I'm assuming you know, Spud. You're good at this.
That's just on the top of my head just now.
Yeah.
So
we do seem to be set up for that kind of system we're playing, particularly with the 3 centre backs. To soak up pressure. So. Let's hope it works, because we're going to get put under big pressure on Saturday.
Yeah, absolutely right. Dean Smith, I think, is worth a shout out for him as well. I think he's done very well to keep his job. He was under quite a bit of pressure last year, but he's really got them to develop and do well. Right, shall we have a look at some 11s, and then we'll answer some more questions. So let's have a look at your 11. Spuds first, shall we? Hello, sir. Spuds first. David, let's have a look at you. There you go. Take us through. This is your 11 for Bristol. Oh, it's not Bristol City. Ignore that. It says Bristol City on it. It's Brentford. There we go. It's been a busy day of transfer speculation. This is for City at Brentford.
I've gone for taking into account that Trouble, who won't be fit on Saturday. Following on when we played Brentford, I thought their midfield just to overrun our midfield, and I just think we need a tougher midfield with Tetty and Reid, and taking Franchik out of the equation. That's what I've gone for. The back three, that picks itself. And our full-backs picks itself. Without our striker, another striker, Oliveira's there. Maddison's performance always picks himself, and it just leaves Murphy. So I think my team is fairly easy to pick for me personally.
I got that sense as well, and I guess whoever Norwich do end up signing over the next couple of days, we're probably not going to see them starting on Saturday, you would imagine, because I think Farker likes to get them in and have a little go with them for a bit. An interesting question from Connor J. Southall. Hello, Connor. Do Norwich stick with the 3-4-3 or a variation of, or return to 4-2-3-1? So you there, Spud, have stuck with your 3-4-3 pretty much, as I've done it anyway. That's what I'm calling it. 3-4-3.
Yeah.
3-4-3. That's what, I probably said the wrong thing. Chris, shall we have a look at your 11? And now I'm sorry.
And then it was a 12, will we, at one point?
This was an issue. There was a sort of a new striker ahead of Houlihan and Wes.
Kind of pondering that really, and it won't happen now, particularly when the kind of striker we're going to get in is third-tier German football. Not going to start at Brentford. I'm fairly confident of that. I guess it goes back to my logic, though, that I want somebody else to come in and take the burden off Oliveira. So as it stands, Spuds is kind of the obvious team. I think really, I wouldn't really change and expect too much different from that. With 1 or 2 injuries just now, we've got Tribal. I'm not sure if he's fit or not, but him, Tetty, and Reid between them, you perm 2 from 3, and I don't think there's too much difference. It does show up really though that we've got a kind of a settled system at the back half of the team, but we're still, I think, tinkering round with the front half of the team. Exactly who's best, where are they best, with choices to see. Wes, I'm a big fan of Wes, and again, he's not had too much game time so far this season. I'd love to think that he's going to have some part to play in the coming months, because I do think we're seeing the swan song now.
It does feel a bit like it, doesn't it? It does feel a bit like it. Brilliant stuff. I've just realised that this is the 3rd week we've been at the Woolpack, and it's the 3rd time Chelsea-Arsenal have played each other in the background just before kick-off. There we go. Obviously that's the
recorded show.
Definitely not a recorded show. Let's get through some questions, shall we, just to finally wrap up. Barry Newman, barring the tiredness from Chelsea, we were poor on Saturday. No penetration of the Sheffield United defence. Predictable side to side with no seldom end product in the box from open play, which has kind of been a recurring theme for a lot of the home games. Neil Austin, Reid has played right back and can in an emergency, although Evo's hamstrings has to be a concern, and I think that's the issue. Harrison Reid can step in for a game. If he has to play 5, 6 or 7 on the trot, it's a bit more of an issue. Really, what else have we got here? Charles Foster is talking. Quite an argument going on between Charles Foster and Craig Brown. Let's have a look what else we've got. Lots of messages. Thank you all for them so much. You're basically having an argument, so I'll leave you all to it. Which leaves us to next week. We are not in next week because it is deadline day. So for our point, if you head over to PinkUn.com throughout the day and basically from now until deadline day, there'll be loads of news, speculation, obviously the actual things that happen, of course, and we'll be doing a few Facebook Live videos throughout the day and into the evening, as opposed to one big show. So basically, we will have transfer deadline day covered, as we all do, myself, Paddy Davitt and David Freezer, and of course after that, Norwich are at home to Middlesbrough, which will be a Johnny Howson reunion. Is that registering on either of your agendas?
Not really, no.
Polite applause. Yeah.
Polite applause. Good old Johnny. Polite applause.
Move on.
Yeah. Move on. Okay, a key man and predictions for Brentford then, gents. That's all I need.
Key man. I suppose you've got to say Maddison again. And Lewis, because I've been very impressed with Lewis. For someone who's just come in, who's played probably less than 10 games since he's made his debut against Brentford, oddly enough, his maturity is above everything else. So
he has been fantastic, Jamal Lewis, 100%, a real revelation. That said, he's still young, he's still inexperienced, and you get the sense that people will have to be patient with him.
Look at that look.
That's Wesley Moulahan.
He's lovely.
There you go. Tell it's always Wesley Moulahan. There you go.
I'll take them on.
Don't hug her, she'll get scared.
Oh, did you?
Chris, I mean, in terms of Brentford and what's happened with Jamal Lewis, he's really impressed, and there will have to be that patience with him.
There will, but we've got choices there, haven't we? We've got Husband, Steeperman,
yeah.
Yes, I had to pause there. So we have at least got choices there in that position. For me, key man, I'm going to just mix it up. Angus Gunn. I think we're going to come under a bit of pressure, and I think we're going to need Angus to be on top form for us at the weekend.
Yeah.
Just remember what's going through the back of my mind now. James Maddison. It's remarkable that since September he's won every Player of the Month award.
4 in a row. Yeah.
He's aware because he was doing the old 4 in the picture. And I was like,
do we need to even have Player of the Season voting? I mean,
exactly. Yeah.
Fair point. Let's scrap that now, shall we? It's going to be quite straightforward. Predictions then.
1 each.
Oh, you beat me to it. That's what I was going to say. 1 each.
I think Norwich will win. There you go. Got it there. That is us for tonight. Michael Bailey's Beard on the Ball City. Charles Forster on the Ball City. Everyone's made up on the live feed. Good news. Brilliant. We are... remember, you can catch this show and all our superb Norwich City content over at the PinkUn Facebook page, where you may well be watching this live, the PinkUn YouTube channel, where you may well be watching this after we've recorded, or of course, PinkUn.com. A big thank you to all the crew, to Dan and to Sean, to Chris and Spud for joining us tonight. Thank you so much, gents. To everyone here at the Woolpack, especially Wesley Moulahan's new friend, and of course to you for watching and getting involved. I'm actually off for the weekend, so it is David Freezer and Paddy Davitt who will be your main men at Griffin Park, so keep tabs on PinkUn.com for all the build-up, action and reaction, of course, from Norwich City headed to Brentford. And if you see us or them around, then say hello. We will be back again with the PinkUn Show live in a fortnight, once again from here at the Woolpack on Golden Ball Street in the centre of Norwich, hopefully. So as always, if you're nearby, pop in, grab a pint, join us for the show, and you too can stroke the lovely Wesley Moulahan. Until then, here's to the Canaries buzzing in the window and buzzing at the bees. Good night.